Welcome to In Moray, the podcast that focuses on the successes and struggles of local businesses. Let's get started.
My name's G, I'm your host, and today I'm sitting down with Lee Midlane, who is the director and founder of IT Central, which I believe is going to grow into the amazing technology centre.
Indeed it is.
And when will that happen?
Now there's a very good question. We were hoping for spring, but if spring includes September, I think that's more the mark.
Okay, so this year.
Absolutely this year.
Super. Let's step back a little bit. What exactly is IT Central?
IT Central is a company that's based on South Street in Elgin. We originally started in September 2015, so we're just coming up 4.5 years old. And originally we were a sales, repairs and servicing of computer equipment place.
And this is developing now into something different. So what's happening?
We realised quite quickly that there was so much scope to do more than was already being offered by us and by other providers within Elgin. And we developed a dream over the next 3.5 years to include a training centre and childcare and a gaming studio.
Various workshops, I imagine.
Yes, we're doing training and education. So we're looking at offering leisure courses, workshops, but workshops for kids as well as for adults.
Sounds great. What exactly was the inspiration to make the change in the organisation?
I think looking around and seeing where the gaps were. Certainly from the childcare perspective, we're putting on kids clubs. I've had a long time as a single parent and trying to find childcare for my son that was something that he would be interested in and something that was responsive to my work was really, really difficult. So I kind of put two and two together. Joshua likes coding clubs. We thought this is something that we can do, but for the kids it's fun and it's educational, and for the parents it's a wraparound childcare service. So everything developed from needs that we saw around and about, and the dream gradually developed into a plan, and it takes forward this year.
So you were looking for something that you would use, it wasn't there, and you decided to start it.
Yes, pretty much. If you see a need that you can't get filled elsewhere, you fill it for yourself.
Makes perfect sense. What was the road that you took to begin IT Central?
It's an interesting one. Originally, I've had lots and lots of different jobs. I'm a qualified teacher. I spent 10 years as a chocolatier. And at the end of those 10 years, my business went south. My business went, as is the way sometimes. And I was asked to manage another local IT company. It was apparent when I took it on that actually there were some fundamental issues with it. That from day one it was not going to succeed because there was things that were happening in there that couldn't be fixed. So that closed after 2 years, and I knew that I could do something better. So although I don't have an IT background, I thought, no, we can do this. I can do the business development, I can do the administration, and I can employ people that can do the things that I can't do, which is the technical aspects of the work, and we took it from there.
And what were the first problems that you had to solve when you went into the business?
I remember a day where Brandon, who was the apprentice where I used to work, he came with me. I've actually worked with him for 6.5 years, and he's only 21. Right. There was a time where we were in the new building, we were painting the walls, and there was just me and him. We didn't have any more staff at that stage. So we had admin, and we had an apprentice, and no technicians. And that was kind of a scary place to be, to say, okay, we're opening in a couple of weeks and actually we don't have anybody who can do the job. So that was our first issue. But then we got Angus, and Angus was with us until he set up his own business, and we took it from there.
So this was a business based in technology with no technician?
Yes, absolutely.
Which shows us that everything is possible.
Absolutely, there's always a solution.
Moving forward, you obviously had a lot of problems that you had to solve to build the business. Can you take us through a few of those steps that you went through to build it?
I think any business has its own unique set of challenges. For us, we're in Elgin. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I love Elgin. But then you have the concept of, okay, how do you let people know that you're here? How do you let people know what it is that you do? And then we had the challenge of actually getting staff on a longer term basis. We put out a request for applications for qualified technicians, and the response to that was interesting. I had one who was a nail technician who the only reference to IT was, I like computers. And so we didn't actually recruit off that round. And when we said, well, actually we want apprentices, the strength of the candidates was that much higher, and we recruited 2 off that round. So it's interesting from that perspective.
Yeah, so what's the difference there? Are you saying that the apprentices are better qualified than the actual supposedly experienced people?
I think there's a real lack in the area of people who have the relevant experience and qualifications that we'd be looking for. So what we do is we recruit for mindset. Okay. Do you have a good work ethic? Will you get on with the team? Is there the banter there? Do you click? Because if you don't click with the team, then it's not going to work. The rest of it we can teach. So we've got 2 guys at the moment, Wayne and Alex, that both come to us as apprentices.
So what you're looking for is the ability of a candidate to grow in the future. Perhaps.
Absolutely, a willingness to learn and a willingness to get stuck in. It's a small team, so we all have to get on. It's a very close environment. It's a very small space that we're in right now. So if you didn't get on, it is apparent very, very quickly.
What is the scene in this region of Moray like for technology at the moment? Is there a good background in education and training, or is there room for improvement?
I think it's same as anywhere else. There's room for improvement. The college offers a range of courses and the library offers a range of courses, but they don't necessarily offer things at a level that people are looking for or in a format that people are looking for. The college is quite formal. It's qualifications based, and the library runs things on occasion. It offers ECDL and PC Passport, and it does have a drop-in workshop as well, but it's really limited in what it offers. And what we thought we could do is offer things that are more responsive to the needs of the people. So we're working with people like Alzheimer's Scotland, looking at assisted living technology, which is using domestic available equipment to help people stay in homes longer. But then we're also looking at iPad groups to help support their citizens and carers to be able to learn new things as well.
So what's your personal relationship to technology? What's your background with it? How were you introduced to it? How do you use it?
Originally, my degree is in television and radio production, way back when Noah was a lad. And so I was all analogue. I did, radio was my thing, but it was all analogue. I did reel-to-reel tape recording with razor blades and Chinograph pencils. So I've always had the interest in technology, but I was never an IT bod. And really, it was by accident or divine providence that I got involved with IT. It wasn't something that I was planning on doing.
Was there a learning curve there?
A huge learning curve. I remember my first week working at the other place, and I went straight in as a manager. So I was front of house and I was dealing with everything from day one. And I think I made it to about Wednesday. I went home, sat on the settee and went to sleep because my brain just went, I've had enough.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I've had experiences where your eyes close in the book at 2:00 in the morning and you're like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
There was just so much to learn, and it never changes. But actually, that's one of the exciting things about technology as well, is if you're going to stay ahead of the curve, you have to be learning all the time. There's always something new coming out, always things that are changing. But the great thing is the guys that I work with now, they have that same interest, but they have the interest in different places. So they're always coming in and saying, oh, did you know this is happening? Did you know that's happening? I've heard this is going down. And that makes for a very interesting environment as well.
Yeah. So what's actually happening within the business right now? What's important today?
There's a huge amount going on behind the scenes. There's a lot of infrastructure changes that's going on. We're getting ready to scale up. We have secured tenancy on 132 High Street, which is so exciting. It's a building that's not been occupied in 13 years. It's one of the last long-term unoccupied buildings in Elgin.
I know the building that you're talking about. It looks like it hasn't been occupied for about 100 years.
It depends which floor you're on, because it's a 3-floor building. Its last full renovation was in 1964 for Elgin Television Services, and if you're on the second floor, on the top floor, that is exactly where it is. It's not changed since 1964. The middle floor is still as True Form, which was British Shoe Corporation, which moved out in 1989. And then the ground floor was First Choice, and I believe they moved out about 13 years ago. So it's a complete time capsule in there.
How do you begin the project of moving into a space like that?
Our first thing, this is the 6th building that we've looked at. And it's always been a case of saying, okay, these are the different departments in what it is that we want to do. And then looking to see how the building suits. So this is the first building that we looked at and went, actually, it flows. Okay. So the top floor is offices and training rooms. The middle floor is the gaming cafe and the VR studio. And the ground floor is the shop at the front and the kids' workshop at the back. And it worked. So from there we went, okay, this is interesting. We started to talk to the landlord. We started to talk to the council, and we got the council to have a look round and see what they thought. Then we engaged an architect. Then it gets scary, because then we start looking at money and paperwork and things.
Yeah, wow. How is it possible that a central high street building can be vacant for such a long period of time?
When you walk round it, it's actually quite scary, because you go up onto the second floor and there are very large gaps in the ceiling. Because
so that's not good.
What's happened is the building hasn't been looked after for a number of years, and then there was water ingress, which meant the roof deteriorated quite badly. That's been repaired by the landlord that owns it at the moment. But when you go inside, there is literally walls missing. There's things that just aren't there. There's chunks of ceiling that just aren't there. So you look round it and you go, this is going to take a lot of money to repair.
Yeah, I wonder how things get into that state in the first place. It's just a personal thing. I just wonder how that happens.
A lot of the buildings are owned by people who are not local. So at the moment, the folks that own it are based in Fort Augustus. A building that I used to be in with a business was owned by people in Sicily.
Wow.
There's folks in London that have it as a portfolio. There's other businesses where they are national businesses where they own that building, but then they don't look after it. So you end up with trees growing out of the sides of buildings.
That is an unusual problem for most people.
It's actually not that unusual in Elgin. It's surprisingly not. We have something called the rooftop garden, which there's people like Elgin Bid are working really hard to work with the landlords to get that fixed.
Yeah, or turn it into a feature, perhaps.
I don't think so. It's not good for the buildings.
No, I can imagine not. So, how is your work managed on a daily basis? What's taking up your time?
I recently learned the power of using an organising tool. There's a piece of software called Asana, which allows me to create project boards and prioritise what it is that I need to do. Typically, my day has 10 to 15 different actions that I want to get completed. And normally either on a Friday afternoon or a Sunday, I look at the week ahead and I schedule what I'm going to do in that week ahead.
What happens if you don't hit a target on that schedule?
It shifts to the next day, and occasionally they do concertina together, and you have to have a week where you be kind to yourself, you don't schedule lots and lots of different things in. So it's just working out what the priority is and going with that first.
So it organises workflow?
Absolutely.
And is there a big difference between how you worked before that and how you work now?
Yes, very much so. I have a much greater focus on what it is that I need to do and I get done. I'm very responsive to list making. I'm one of that type of personality that I work well with lists. And there are occasions where I don't get it completed at work and I will take it home and finish it off at home, but I try not to do that if I can help it.
How do you define success within the work that you do?
If I'm happy and my team's happy and my customers are happy, then we're successful because we're achieving what we set out to achieve. If we get all those things right, then financial success will follow on. But if you aim for financial success, you can end up with an unhappy team and unhappy customers, so it's short-lived. We want IT Central to last a very, very long time.
Something like creating a legacy, maybe?
I think so. I mean, for us, the new shop in Elgin is a test centre. It's a test bed. It's the first one of its kind. But then the plan is to open more. And at the moment, we have a team of 5. But to efficiently run that building, we're going to need between 15 and 30 staff. So we're going to be recruiting at least 10 new members of staff, possibly up to 25. But once we get that one running, we want to open IT Centrals all over the place. So we can be the first national and possibly the first international brand doing what we do.
How does that work in terms of searching for clients and customers and funding a project like that?
Finding clients and customers is always an ongoing basis. There's so much information about marketing and how to do marketing, and I think where we are flies in the face of the majority of what the textbooks would say. It just what it says doesn't work for where we are. We're a small community, we're a family place, and we have to rely on word of mouth. We have to rely on recommendation because other media just doesn't work in the same way for us. Funding a project like that, it's a challenge. There aren't grants and there isn't the support that is expected for businesses. People think, oh, that's fine, you're scaling up, people will throw money at you, and that is not the case. So what you end up with is a jigsaw puzzle of different funders and different strategies. So we're taking advantage of people like Resource Efficient Scotland that put money into business as an interest-free loan, looking at heating, lighting and insulation. But then you have other people that can put money in for different aspects as a digital development loan. Further down the line, we will be doing a crowdfunding project, but we understand, that's not going to be a huge fundraiser for us. And it's just match funding after match funding after match funding until we build up this picture of the finance that we need. So there's a degree of strategy and being canny and being all out and just going for it.
Yeah, I think it needs both sides there. You need to put a lot of energy into it and you need a strategy at the same time to build step by step. Could you see yourself doing something like this, say, 10 years ago?
No, not at all. Even when I went into the building in the September of 2015, we looked round and we went, this is fine, this is cosy, it's a little bit snug, but you know what, it's fine, it'll do us, we've arrived, we've landed, we're done. And we really didn't think that we were going anywhere else after that. We thought that was it. And then the ideas grow arms and legs until we've got a project that is at least 4 times the size of where we're at.
Well, sometimes the end is never the end.
No, and the thing is, the dream will continue and develop as more things come on board and as technology changes, then what we do will change as well.
Yeah, and if you're first in the market to work with it and do it and present it, it puts you in a very prominent position.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes, that's the plan. We're always trying to raise our profile.
Mhm.
We're very much about people. We're very much about the community. So we're always looking at ways to get involved.
What skills that you acquired in the past prepared you to take on a project like this?
A lot of times people talk in business about failing, which is first attempt in learning. IT Central's not my first business. I've had a business, I've had a couple of businesses before, one of which lasted 10 years before we took the decision to close it. And there's so much that you learn from what you get wrong elsewhere that prepares you for how to get it right here. It's always a learning curve. It never stops. There's always a better way to do something than how you've done it before.
Yeah, the learning curve is
huge.
It is extremely important. What's your inspiration for doing this?
I know it probably sounds really cliche, but we are all about people. We understand how technology is used by people, how it's a tool. So for some people it might be, you'd say, oh, it's a computer, but it's access for somebody to be able to speak to the grandkids via Skype in Australia. Oh, it's just a computer. No, it's payroll for the company on Friday, and if we don't fix it, they don't get paid. A games console can be a lifeline for a family where the child has autism and that's their main entertainment or main route of escape. So it's always about what the technology means to the person, not the fact that it's a gadget or a gizmo.
It's nice to hear that kind of approach. What things do you enjoy about your work?
Pretty much everything. I'm in an incredible position that my day-to-day work is so varied. I could be on a workshop or I could be doing bookkeeping and accounts, and I do actually enjoy doing that. I get to do the detective work and the analytical side of the business. I get to do the administration side of the business, which I really enjoy. I even get to do some of the cleaning. That doesn't stop. So there isn't anything. I don't wake up on a Monday and go, oh, I've got to go to work. I wake up on a Monday and go, yay, it's Monday, I get to go to work. I love it.
What are the hard parts?
Some days don't go as well as you would hope them to. There are days that can be incredibly frustrating. We've had it recently where a very well-known supplier, we were getting a laptop for a customer and it was meant to be delivered in 3 days. And then they said, well, actually it's in production, so it's going to be 4 weeks. And then they said, well, actually it's going to be 8 weeks. So 10 weeks in, there isn't going to be a machine. So we've had to argue with the supplier to say, well, actually, no, we want our money back for this because we're going to need to go somewhere else. Days like that are very frustrating.
Do you have any specific strategy for dealing with problems?
Face them head on and be brave. Whatever you think is the worst case scenario, it'll never be as bad as that.
Or there's something that could be even worse.
Not that I found. At one time I was really quite nervous and quite shy of dealing with things head on. And in my last job, I was kind of like the angel of doom. If there was a machine that was badly done and it was toast, it was my job to phone the customer up and let them know that was it. So I had to take the decision one day, what's the worst that could happen? And I just went for it, and that's the attitude that I've taken ever since.
Yeah, giving people bad news is always a difficult job.
Oh, not fun.
Definitely not. Are there any public misconceptions about the type of business that you have working in technology where the public think a certain thing but it doesn't work that way?
I think people tend to think of IT as like a dark art. People don't understand. I kind of liken it to cars going wrong. My car makes a noise. I don't know anything about cars. I take it to the garage and just hope that it's not dead. And it can be a little thing, but my understanding isn't there. And we get that with other people. They'll either come in and go, you know, I hope it's not died, I hope it's fixable, or it'll be the other way round and they'll go, it's a little itty-bitty job and it turns into something absolutely huge. We always try and make sure that people understand what it is that we're doing. So there's never any geek speak. We always meet people at the level they're at. But we also try and humanise what it is we do. The team of guys I work with are fantastic, and they'll speak to anybody about anything, and we're always happy to help to try and eliminate some of that. It is possible to speak tech. It is possible to speak in acronyms and terms that will lose most people, but it's not something that we do.
Oh, it's nice to have a company that respects and appreciates the fact that the public don't understand a subject which is changing very quickly.
We have had members of staff where they felt the need to do that, but then that's more about them proving their knowledge rather than being there for the customer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I know how I feel like when I watch a video about technology and there are terms and numbers and types of machines. I don't even know if they're machines or parts of machines. I'm not sure what people are talking about. Have you got your AMD 47 double fix connected? I'm lost already, right? I have no idea what they're talking about. So it's a difficult world to get into because of the speed of change.
Absolutely, and certainly when you're looking at component parts, there are so many that are out there. And you just look at graphics cards, and there's more than 80 that you can choose from. And we do have customers that are into their numbers, so they will come in and say, "Oh, actually, I'm looking for a GeForce 1080 Ti 4700K." At which point I go, "I'll just go get one of the boys." Yeah,
yep. I know. I know exactly the kind of situation that you're talking about. I also have to say thank you to you for a piece of advice that you gave to me, which was showing me how cool your phone was, which then led to me getting the same phone, which has been really cool. So I want to say thank you for that. And the reason why I thought about that was that I wanted to take the micro SD card from my old phone and put it into the new phone. But micro SD cards are now old. And I was reading about it online that it's like it's not used anymore because it's old technology. I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, it's like if you think about vinyl records. I'm of an age that I started off on vinyl. That's how I listened to music. Yeah. And then it moved to CDs, and now it's all digital. I don't have any other music format other than digital. And all technology moves on like that. We were on mechanical hard drives. We're moving through SSDs, and we're coming out the other side of that one as well. Yeah.
I'm actually quite happy that I don't have stacks of CDs lying around anymore.
Me too.
They just got in the way of everything. And then if you had an LP or a record, you were worried that it would get scratched or
warped.
Heat,
yeah.
Or as I think my mother explained to me that there was always a problem of getting cigarette ash on them when she was at university, like many years ago, and there was always a problem that students, being students,
yes,
would drop their cigarette on it or something, and that would be the end of the plastic. So it always amazed me how the records worked anyway.
Yeah, I've never understood that one.
Yeah, it's wild. I don't think there's anyone who really understands everything that's happening.
No.
Or that's what I tell myself to make myself feel better.
I think we're all experts in something. There's things that capture our imagination that we get really, really interested in. But no, we can't know everything about everything.
Yeah. How do you balance work and free time?
Yes, I think there's people that would say I don't. That my work is my work. I'm a type A personality, so my work is fun. I don't watch TV. I rarely watch films. I'm not a gamer, so my free time would be spent studying, reading, watching things on YouTube that I find interesting but is educational. I like to stretch my brain.
What's it like not being a gamer but being involved in computers and technology? You must have to spend time around people who like those kinds of things.
Well, everybody I work with is gamers.
Okay.
All of them are gamers, and that's fine. It's not something I can do So we have Beat Saber on at the moment with the Beat Saber challenge, and I have had a go, and I'm not too bad at it because it's a rhythm game and I have a reasonable sense of rhythm. So actually I can have a go at that and hold my own, and that's okay. But see if it's something with one of the controllers that's got 472 million buttons on, I have no coordination. I can only make the guy run backwards and forwards, and that's my lot.
Well, going forwards is probably quite important in those games. So, so that's quite cool. How is the virtual technology affecting the work that you do? Is it affecting it in any way?
I don't think it would naturally affect where we are right now, but one of the decisions that we've taken is we want to include a VR studio when we move. And some of the technology that's behind it is absolutely incredible. We have 360-degree treadmills, which basically means that you have a harness on and you run on the spot. So rather than running off and banging into things, which is an absolute issue with virtual reality because you're immersed in a world, you have headphones on, you have a headset on, so you can only see what's in the headset, it allows you to move freely. There's another device called an Icarus, which allows you to fly like Superman.
Wow.
So you're not in a plane. We're looking at racing rigs as well, which will allow you to be a rally champion or a fighter pilot. But the Icarus, I think, probably is my favourite because it uses core strength to be able to fly. There's one called Birdly where you have to flap your arms, and I think you probably look a bit of a div with that one. So we went with Icarus. It's a little bit more elegant. And say the racing rigs as well. So there's the activity fun side of it, but then there's also an educational aspect. There's also a fitness aspect as well. Using core strength for Icarus is going to be something that burns calories and tones muscles. You're not going to get away from that. And when we went down to Doncaster to the suppliers to look at the Omnidex, we had to go for 15 minutes, after which Grant and I needed to sit down on a bottle of water.
It's quite intensive.
Hugely.
A lot of the experiences. I've also seen that VR is being used as a form of pain control.
Absolutely. There's some incredible things that they're doing with it. They're looking at how to use it in training. So police forces are using it in training, and medical use it in training hugely. But then people like Alzheimer's Scotland use it for reminiscence therapy because you can actually transport somebody back into another time. We've looked at a piece of a platform called Engage, and what that does is it can transport you back onto the deck of the Titanic or into a Van Gogh painting or the middle of Battle for Britain. And it's an incredible experience because once you're in the headset, you kind of forget what else is going on around you.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's also interesting to hear that time travel is now possible.
Yeah, but you have to come back.
Well, hopefully.
And you're also not able to touch anything while you're in there. It's a visual experience and it's an audible experience, but you couldn't literally go and pick things up.
Yeah. I've been preparing for this chat a little bit. I was reading about haptic technology with the suits.
Yeah, haptic body suits.
Where they allow you to experience impacts and feel hot and cold.
Yeah, the main thing that's available at the moment are haptic gloves. So that's the thing that makes it feel like you're picking something up. But the haptic suit, if you're doing one of the combat games, for example, if somebody gives you a kick, the suit will actually exert pressure on the point where the kick would be felt.
It's wild. I'm not sure anybody completely understands what's coming in the future.
No.
But for me, it's organizations like what you do and what you're planning to do that are leading the way, because I don't think schools are up to scratch with the standards they have right now in terms of technology.
I think it's a very difficult one for the schools. My understanding is a lot of the people that are involved in teaching IT, their background isn't necessarily IT to start off with, so that makes it a very difficult thing. They're also working within the national curriculum, they're working towards specific qualifications, so they don't have the latitude to be able to go and experiment and explore into other things, and that's something that we can do, is provide that that bridge across the gap between what's being developed and supplied and making it available to people.
Yeah, and also being able to give that information to individuals and families as well, because I'm sure there are a lot of parents who are lost by the technologies that are coming along.
Absolutely. One of the things that we said about was, we wanted to put coding clubs on for kids. And I was talking to one of the mums of one of my son's friends, and she said, I'd absolutely put my son to the club because he isn't very good at IT and we're just completely lost. And I would do it as like a tutored support thing. So then that created a different avenue of going, okay, so we can offer coding, but then we can offer education to the kids. We can do tutored support for the kids as well.
Wow. It's going to be great. I'm quite sure. I know that recently you took part in an accelerator program to help businesses within the region. Can you tell me a little bit about the processes there?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a 13-week program, and we were the pilot project for this area. So it was delivered by Elevator, who were already offering this in Aberdeen, Perth and Dundee, but we were the first Moray cohort. And it was delivered by Business Gateway and HIE. What it's enabled us to do over a 13-week program was to have a really intensive look at what it is that we were looking to do with our businesses. And there were so many different people that we could speak to that made us think differently about where we're going with the businesses. And they always do the pivot. You pivot. So your business is going in one direction, and then you have a conversation and you find it going in a direction you didn't anticipate before. So it's just a mind-bending experience.
Right.
We've been as far as Inverness, Aberdeen, Dundee and Edinburgh for different events. And if I could attend something, I did. And I got to meet some absolutely amazing people and have a huge input. And the idea of Accelerator is it accelerates your business. It's a launch pad. So they don't do it for you, but they give you the tools so you can do it for yourself.
What is it they say? Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish. Or a woman, or a boy, or a girl.
That's it. They've got fish for life.
Yeah, yeah. Or your robot in the future.
Yes.
There you go. Hopefully not catching robotic fish. Yeah,
no, but if the robots are catching fish, then we can go to something a bit more interesting.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for, basically. Yeah, don't have to go out now and collect firewood for the fire, right? So we can spend time on other things. Standing on the shoulders of the giants of history. I think the people who have come before us to give us what we have today, we need to be grateful. I think what's important in what you talked about is flexibility within your business. That to grow, you have to be able to change your direction sometimes.
Absolutely. We have to be responsive to what it is that people want. The reality is we can go out there and go, oh, we think they want this. Put that together. And if it's not what people want, they'll not engage with it. So that's why the people have to come first. We have to be responsive to what people want.
Customer centric.
Absolutely. Because if we design a horse but they want a camel, it all goes horribly wrong.
Yeah, I like that. I like that analogy. It's nice. What's your vision personally for your work over the next year or few years?
Within the next 12 months, we'll be moving into 132. At the moment, the building that we're in is tiny. Our office is basically a cupboard that two of us share a desk. There isn't a radiator. There isn't a window. I am looking forward to being sat in my office with everybody else, but having a desk to myself, it being warm, and being able to look out of a window.
I feel like I'm living in a very luxurious world right now.
You make do with what you have at the time. It's where we're at right now, but we're looking forward to it. And I can visualise what it'll be to walk around the new building and see people in there and see people having fun and people in the noodle bar, the training rooms. And there's such an energy about the place. I'm really looking forward to being part of that.
What is it that the community can do to support this kind of project?
We have a newsletter that's available, so people can contact us and be involved with the newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
We rely very heavily on word of mouth. We rely on people talking to each other and telling folks about what it is that we're doing. But we also need people to talk to us about what it is that they want, what it is that they would be looking for in the building, what's the type of training courses, what would they want the kids to be involved in, what are the type of games or events that they would like to see happen, and then we can respond to that. So really, we want people to speak to us.
And what is the best avenue for that?
Email, Facebook, come into the shop, give me a ring. We're pretty good. We could get us out lots and lots of different ways, all the regular ways.
What if somebody is part of like a local social group or part of a school or something? Could you cater for a larger group of people who have an interest?
It's something that we'd definitely like to do. And some of the things that we want to do, we're going to launch fairly soon, but in a different building. So we're able to offer the workshops and the training and things for kids as well. If people are wanting us to go and speak in school, we can do that. We're always open to ideas and to new opportunities. So we don't say no, we say we'll figure it out.
What are you personally most excited about that's coming?
Other than my window in my office.
Right. Okay.
I think I'm really excited to see something that's been a dream over the last 3 years become something tangible, something that I can walk up to and touch and prod and poke. And because I have the background in television and radio production, one of the things I'm going to do is record an awful lot of what happens in the meantime. So we're going to capture it, because the reality is, at the end of a 6-month build programme, we will have forgotten what happened at the beginning. So I want to capture as much of it as I possibly can. So I'm really looking forward to the documentary section of the next phase, but then I'm definitely looking forward to being in the building itself.
It's really nice to look at it from the perspective of creating documents about what is happening, because I think on a daily basis, for every business and a lot of people who are busy, so much happens. We miss and we forget. And one of the nice things for me about social media is that it gives you a little bit of a record of where you've been and what you've thought and what's happening. And I enjoy scrolling back through my Instagram pictures to see who I was with and where I was at certain times. It's nice, and I think more businesses should document what they do.
I think it's too easy to forget where you've come from. At the moment, we have a running joke that on a Friday afternoon about 2:00, everybody's in the office. Like I said, it's the size of a cupboard. My dog comes to work with me every day. He's underneath the desk. There's 2 of us at the desk, and then there's 3 other people in the cupboard. And it's a giggle, and we're going to forget that. So we need to make sure we capture that, because that's where we started.
Absolutely. I totally agree. On a personal level, in terms of influence and recommendations, what book should everybody read?
I think it depends on where it is that you're coming from. I think if you're interested in starting a business, then Michael Gerber's E-Myth is a great place to start, because it challenges your mindset on what it is that you want to do in business. And for me, that's where I come from. I'm a business developer. I'm an out-of-the-box thinker. So I enjoy reading business books.
What did you get from reading that book?
Originally, I thought, because I wasn't a technician working within the business, that maybe there wasn't a lot of validity to the fact that I was business development and admin and bookkeeping, but it was my business.
Right.
And from reading the book, he talks about people starting to do their own business because they enjoy what they do as a trade. So a plumber starts to work for themselves. And then it talks about the idea of, well, are you a technician or are you a manager? But then it starts to talk about the entrepreneur and how they think and how they operate. And suddenly I thought, that's me. That's what I do. That's where I'm at. And a lot of things kind of clicked into place at that point to say, actually, no, I am absolutely the right person to be leading my business. I'm absolutely the right person to be at the front of it. It doesn't matter that I can't fix things. I understand what the guys are doing, but I do things with business development that they don't understand.
Mm-hmm. What is the state of entrepreneurship within this area?
I think it's a really exciting time. Elgin has very few empty shops, very few compared to the national average. Mm-hmm. And we have a really high number of small independent businesses, which is just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I think it's a great time to start a business. I think there's always more that could be done by people to support Elgin. I think people are too quick to bash it. I think people are too quick to say there's nothing there without actually walking up the streets and actively trying to support it, of saying, okay, I need to buy this. Can I do this here? Or do I need to go out of town? Because yes, sometimes we do need to go out of town to do things. But let's try Elgin first.
Mm-hmm. On a tangent, time travel is possible. Where would you go and why? Well, we covered earlier that time travel is possible.
Well, time travel is possible through the VR platform. Joe, I don't know. I think I'm so excited about where I am right now. I don't think I'd want to be anywhere else. I'd maybe like a glimpse of shooting forward 20 years to have a look at what the business looks like and where it's gone. But then I also don't want to spoil the story because it's such a journey that we're on. I don't want to read the last page before we go through the rest of it.
Yeah, I don't want to know the end either.
No, not yet.
No, absolutely not. Your business is on fire. Everybody gets out okay, but you can only pick up one thing as you're rushing out the door. What do you pick up?
At the moment, probably my laptop, because I think I'm surgically attached to it. Everything that I do is on there. And so that would be the one thing that I would get, because then it links into everything else. If I've got access to the facilities that's on there, then I can continue to run the business and I can continue to function in other avenues as well. As long as my kids are okay, my family's okay, my dog's okay, the staff are okay, everything else is just stuff.
What kind of legacy do you think you will leave behind?
I would... That's a really good question.
Super. Got you there.
You did. Absolutely did. I think I want to be able to leave behind a business that is different to others. I want people to look at how IT Central has developed and look at that and say, that's a model for how I want to go forward. It isn't about the bottom line. It isn't about the income off it. It's about people, and it's about making a difference in people's lives. And if more businesses looked at it from that perspective, actually the world would be a cheerier place.
I think it would. I think we'd all be more helpful to each other as well.
I think there's a real shift, because we were talking about business the other day and how it used to be, that it did used to be quite backbiting and cutthroat and dog eat dog. And actually there is a lot more now looking towards collaboration. We don't think of other businesses as being our competitors. It's an opportunity to work together and to collaborate. And the more businesses that think like that, the better it's going to be. And I do think that's the way that it's going. That's more the ethic that's behind it now.
Yeah, and I think that's a great direction to go in, to put more heart into the businesses and the work that we do.
Absolutely. We have to have integrity and we have to be authentic. Otherwise, whatever we do isn't going to last anyway.
So true. I want to take this moment to say thank you very much for coming in here today, and to wish you personally and your organization great success in the future. And if there's people out there interested in getting involved, which way is the best way to contact you? Okay,
so you can give us a call at the shop, and it's 01343 233 110. You can email, it's Lee, LEE@itcentral.scot. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook. I'm all over the place. If you see me, come and say hi.
Absolutely. And look out for the events that are coming up, such as there's Beat Saber Challenge.
Absolutely. We've got Heat 5 coming up of the Beat Saber Challenge. So this is the last opportunity for people to enter. And then the final is on the 7th of February, and that's held in Riverchurch on Greyfriars Street, because it's a nice big venue, great sound system, big projector, big screen. So we're going to get 10 finalists up on stage to battle it out to be the first Beat Saber champion.
Wow. I think I'm going to push my son towards doing that.
What about you?
Well, I don't want to push him out of the way, right? Because I actually think Beat Saber is very entertaining, and it's a nice physical activity to get involved in. It's got your music, and you kind of bop around, do your own thing. And what's more cool than slicing flying colourful blocks with a lightsaber? I'm not sure that there's anything more cool if you're a boy doing that.
It's kind of cool if you're a girl too.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only talk about myself and my experience. So, well, you know, the backstory to that is that I got my kids like a VR system for Christmas, and everyone's rocking on it. Everyone's loving it, and I only get like 10 minutes a day if I'm lucky using it, because everybody wants it, and it's got something to offer everybody.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter what level you come in at. There is a way to use it.
Yeah.
So my daughter's mobility impaired. She's a wheelchair user, but she could use it. And my son has autism, and he could use it.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that it's completely accessible.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's an opportunity to explore other people's dreams and to realize the importance of your own as well.
I think one of the things that I really enjoy about VR is the fact that people get lost in it. So you always have a screen running, so people can watch the person playing VR, and they can see what the person can see. Yeah. And there's things that frighten them, and they will jump, and they will hoot and holler, and it's hilarious. It's great. It's very voyeuristic.
Yeah, people need to experience it. You can't talk about it. You have to experience something. You have to experience. Talking about it doesn't communicate what it's like.
It's not like watching a screen. It's a little bit like standing on the edge of the cliff looking out over the ocean. That sort of expanse is what you experience inside a headset. Yeah,
it's also a great mind bender, because you're there, but you're not, but you are.
Absolutely. And yes, certainly with Beat Saber, sometimes the blocks fly at you pretty quickly.
Yep. It will be interesting to see how it all progresses.
Yeah, see what happens next.
And just as another little point to add to that, I was thinking about resources as well, and that within that VR world, you can have almost infinite resources that you can use for experimentation. And that's massive in an educational sense.
I think the great thing about it is it's only limited by people's input. If you can imagine it and you can create it and you can code it, you can make it happen.
And that's what we need to do.
Yes.
Super. Thank you very much for coming in here this morning. It's been a fantastic chat, and I wish you great success in the future.
Thank you. You're more than welcome.
Cool.
Made in Moray is a product of the Academy of Language Therapy and Life Coaching. Book a free online personal or professional development consultation today. What are you waiting for?